You thought it was Alfred, but it's not. Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get it on. No choice. They're going to mandate you get it on. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for telling a friend. We love that about you, right, Gina Grad?
That's right.
Handball, Brian.
Cool, dope, fresh.
John Altschuler and Dave Krinsky, old friends. I worked on the Bertram pilot with those guys. Mike Judge guys, but also created Silicon Valley and worked on Beavis and Butthead and wrote Blades of Glory, which little under the radar in terms of comedy. Mm-hmm. It's like one of those, you know what comedy's good when you stumble across it and you hang with it.
Yep.
And when you ever stumble across Blades of Glory, you will hang with Blades of Glory. It is a little underappreciated, super funny movie. King of the Hill, of course. Anyway, lots to get into with those guys. We have our vacation recap. So I was, of course, down at the track, down at the Laguna Seca, doing my thing.
Were you in the pit crew? Because you are tan as fuck.
That was from just walking the lawn yesterday at Pebble Beach. I got stories from the lawn. I got a mega story from the lawn. Also, so it was kind of a nice story. So the guy, they're doing, they pick themes every year.
Pirates.
Yeah,
Barbie.
Yeah.
that's right.
Superheroes.
Yeah.
My Little Pony.
They'll do like 75 years of Jaguar racing, and all the Jaguars will come out that year. And they'll do different themes. This year was 100 years at Le Mans. So they had this whole big Le Mans tent set up with these cars that have won it. Mercedes-Benz, 1954, won it outright, and the Porsche and the 917 that you remember from the Steve McQueen movie. And there are others, 35 cars.
Special screening of the 24-hour war, I have to assume.
Yeah, they did a special screening of something, but I couldn't remember what it was exactly. But so then, so it's 100 years of Le Mans. So they went to Le Mans, and then they started a whole Le Mans class, 1972 to 1982 Le Mans cars, and I was somewhere in that group, about 32 cars, I think. And so I get on the phone. Maybe I get a call from a guy by the name of Bob Garretson. Bob Garretson, 89 years young. He built my car in like 1978 or 79. And so he's this guy who had this shop in Mountain View, California.
Yeah.
Not too far from Apple. That whole
Not too
story
far from
goes that way. And he was up there just racing cars. He's a computer guy. I guess he made his money doing computers, but also he has a passion for car racing. So he builds this car in 1978, and then he goes out and races at Le Mans. And then somewhere, I don't know when, at night, ends up rolling the car 7 times.
Oh, boy.
And they get him out of the car, and the car's a mess. But it's got a bunch of expensive parts on it because it's a 935, which is an expensive Porsche race car. So then he brings this wrecked car. I don't even know if he brought the wrecked car back to Mountain View. I think he pulled the engine, pulled the transmission. You pull all the parts that are salvageable off the car, and then you order from Porsche a new tub, as they would call it. Like
a frame.
Yeah, like picture a VW Bug with no parts on it, just a VW Bug, fenders and floorboards and roof and all that, or that. Then he puts all the parts that he took off of the salvage car, puts them back on that car, creates a car, and goes back to Le Mans. And this time it's Hawaiian Tropic and it's Paul Newman, and that's the car. That's what it is today. But he calls me. I guess I get on the phone with him a couple months ago, and he says, they're doing this thing because it's 100 years of Le Mans, that in between races, they always do some lunchtime parade lap thing where it's not a race. They just put people out on the track, drive the old cars, sometimes modern cars, sponsorships, things like that. So he says they're doing this Le Mans drive sort of exhibition, like in the middle of the day. And it's going to take place right after you get out of the car. So when your run group goes, could I get in the car with you and go around the track for the exhibition? 89 years old, this could be the last time he's out on the track.
Yeah, you can't
Especially if
say
you're
no.
older, yeah.
So I say, the car only has one seat, and I don't want to put another seat in the car, but why don't you drive the car for the Le Mans?
As a fellow shitty pickup owner of yore, you know that, sorry, just 2 seats is like the ultimate get out of driving your friends on a Friday or
Right.
Saturday. And now here, a rich man, poor man. Now here you are, just the one seat.
So I go, but look, you drive the car. You've driven the car. This guy's driven at Le Mans many times. He won Sebring. He won the 24 Hours of Daytona
Damn.
with Bobby Rahal and Brian Redmond,
He's
2
more than
legendary
qualified.
guys.
You got a resume.
Yeah.
He won the World Endurance Championship, which is like in Europe. Like somebody called him at some point, told him after he'd retired in the 81 season, not him retired, but it's real expensive to race. And sometimes you run out of business and you run out of sponsors and you can't go make the next race. But this guy told him that he could win the endurance championship if he went out to Spa and raced in Europe. And all he had to do was place like 5th or better, and he would win the endurance championship. So they got, I think it was Flying Tigers, if you remember them, to sponsor the car. And he went to Europe, and he came in first in his class, like 2nd overall, won the endurance championship. So I said,
What was Flying Tigers?
What was Flying
Hidden
Tigers?
Dragon.
Oh, you don't remember Flying
No.
No, I have
Tigers?
no idea.
No.
Flying Tigers was DHL and is it DHL?
Was it
Delivery
delivery?
service.
A delivery service. Yeah, it was. I think it was a group based or formed in World War II called the Flying Tigers, and then somehow they took that name and became the Flying Tigers, and they were a big, parcel delivery, whatever. I don't know what's become of them. Maybe the Flying Tigers are defunct now, but they were right up there with all the big companies, maybe even bigger than a lot of them. And then some point something happened. But anyway, he got the sponsorship. He went there. He won the race. So I said, you can first scheduled cargo airlines in the U.S. So they're the first cargo airlines, and they were big, but
From 45 to 88.
yeah. And then Bob took all their money, and then they went broke. And anyway, that's the end of the story.
That's the whole Wikipedia page.
So he got it. So he came back. So he said, I'll meet you at the track. And I said, good, Bob. I'll get out of the car, and then you get into the car.
I'm nervous.
Now, the deal is it's not really parade laps. They're letting them run the cars out there. So they want full gear. They want the
Like
fire
a
suits.
showcase.
They want the fire suit. They want the helmet. They want the gloves. That's fine. Bob's not a fat guy, but he's a stout guy. He's 6'2", and he's 210 pounds, and the car's little. And so I got out of the car and I pulled into the paddock, and I got out of the car. And I said, all right, Bob, it's your turn. And he was all suited up and helmeted up and gloved up and ready. And it takes 10 minutes to get into the car. You got to bend yourself like a pretzel. It takes longer to get out of the car. It takes me a little while to get out of the car. It's just hard you got to bend over. It's all that we're looking at pictures
to
of him.
unfold yourself.
And it also becomes like 3 guys hanging on to you, your hands feeling around, you're trying to feel like where you can grab and all this kind of stuff. So
Well, and you're snugly fit in there.
you're tucked in tight. So we get Bob into the car. Bob gets his helmet and his gloves. He gets his 6-way harness on, goes to turn the key. Nothing.
Oh, no.
Nothing.
What have you done to my car?
So we start checking, and God love Bob. He's there a little earlier, and he's looking at the suspension, and he's like, how much camber are you running in those rear wheels? And I'm like, I don't know. And he goes, doesn't look like there's any positive camber in that. And I go, I don't know what the camber setting is. He goes, well, I think I got one of my old mechanics is around here, and he probably has the setup sheets for how we ran them back in the day.
Wow.
At some point, he goes and finds the old setup sheets and finds out how much negative camber to put into the rear end. Anyway, so Bob's turning the key. Nothing's happening. Bob's turning the key some more. Nothing's happening. All the cars are pulling out onto the track for the parade lap. This is day one. This is Wednesday. So now we got to drag Bob out of the car.
Oh, boy.
That's another three-man job, pulling Bob. Bob's foot's stuck on the steering wheel. It's like grabbing his leg and lifting it out. And so we're pulling Bob out of the car. We get Bob out of the car. He says, Bob, don't know. I don't know what happened. I just ran the car. It ran fine. I don't know why it's not starting. It's probably the starter. Maybe it's the solenoid. We check a bunch of stuff. At some point, car gets really hot, the engine starter gets really hot, and the little electric solenoid that activates the starter gets really hot, and it'll seize up. So Sean gets down there with a little ball peen hammer and starts tapping on the solenoid. It works, and now the car will fire up, but this is a half hour later. Everyone's on the track. No parade laps for you, Bob. The next day, got another opportunity after I get out of the car to then take your parade lap. He's all suited up.
Oh, fuck.
Once again, I like the old timers. The old timers are hardcore. They don't wear anything under their fire suit. It's just all, when they unzip that thing, it's all gray chest hair.
All right.
Pretty badass.
Smell that, Gina.
So now we're coming up to the end of my session on Thursday. Bob's all suited up, standing there, waiting to get back in the car for a second time. And as I'm going up the back hill, there's a long back hill on the way to the corkscrew at the top of the hill. Something lets go on the car, just immediate loss of power. Thankfully, I'm wide open in third gear, and I got enough inertia to get me up and through the corkscrew and just enough to get me down the other side hill, and then you pull off onto this turn off, which gets you off the track. And I was able to coast it pretty much all the way up to my pit, where I could see Bob standing there wringing his hands, excited to get in the car
With
again.
a 40-year-old printed piece of paper.
And I was like, Bob, I'm not sure. Something let go. So we backed the car in, tried to crank it. Nothing once again. Minor problem that, people knew what they were talking about, had to fix, had to take the distributor apart, the, not the cap, but the rotor that goes on top of the distributor. The screw came loose, the thing fell apart, blah, blah, blah. We had to kind of pull a few things off and retighten a few things. Fixed it. That session is now done.
Oh,
too.
God.
So Bob standing out there, got to get out of the fire suit.
How awful for Bob.
Once again. Then Friday rolls around. We got the car fixed. I go out there and do my session. I come back, and this time the car works.
Finally.
Get Bob, all three guys getting Bob back into the car once again, and Bob goes out and has the time of his life,
Thank
being
Christ.
reunited with his car.
My
But
heart was going to sink for
Me
Bob.
too.
I was also like, hey, Bob, when Bob got out of the car, I was like, tell me all about it, stud. And he was like,
Jesus
brake
Christ.
pedal's pretty mushy, and I don't know what kind of rear end you got in this car, but
What have you done to my
You
car?
need the limited slip because it's feeling loose coming over the straightaway on turn one over the hump. And I'm
Never
like,
lose
okay.
it.
Yeah. And so he starts trying to dial me in. Sweetest guy in the world. Nice, super, super humble. Put him in also for the fourth day,
Good.
the Saturday race. Car ran again. He started to get into it a little more and had himself a good time in the car. So
good.
Bob Garretson, 89 years young, built the car and is now back in the car. And probably be the last time Bob's doing any driving on that track. Although we wish him many happy miles. Good shape. I mean,
Yeah,
it
it didn't look 89.
sharp. It's such a difference between how people age, and everyone always wants to talk about it. What kind of life? Did you drink? Did you smoke? Yeah. But there's also just a strong genetic component.
Sure.
And then there's also just a strong vibrancy. Like, I am into this thing. I don't know how many guys are knocking on the door of 90 are excited about going to the track for 4 straight days and climbing back into the crazy car they built 40 years ago. But Bob was all in.
Where did he come up from?
All the guys who used to live and work in California and or Connecticut or New York, all the guys who built cars, race cars, did all that, they all fled because their mentality is business owner, mechanic, whatever.
So Texas.
Yeah, there's no, maybe he went to Virginia. I can't remember. But nobody who knew California in the 60s and the 70s can even make heads or tails of anything that's going on today, much less run a business. So they're all out.
Got it.
That seems to be the common refrain. So that was fun. The race was good. I was pretty slow and uneventful.
Why? Answer for this.
The car had a brake pedal issue that was
good. Don't use it.
Going down so far that there was a discomfort level with it. And then also you must blip the throttle. You press the brake, you press the clutch, so your right foot presses the brake if you're a right foot braker. Your right foot presses the brake. Your left foot presses in the clutch. Let's just say you're at the very end of the straightaway and you're going, 140 miles an hour. You brake with your right foot. Left foot presses the clutch in. Right foot rolls off the brake, but not take off the brake. Just roll off, blips the throttle. Just gives it a pop with the throttle, like rev. Drop it into the gear that you downshift gear, third gear in this case. You'll rev match. It's a little hard to explain, but if you are going 1,000,000 miles an hour and you just drop it into third gear, the car will go like it wasn't prepared for that. But if you can rev match it, the guys that are good they blip it, kick the RPM to like 6,000 RPM, drop it into third, and that's where it should be for third gear. Then they brake again, push in the clutch again, blip it again, drop it into second. The guys that are really good, that's just one fast little ballet. It's just pop, 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 and they'll just pop it into the gear, and the rev will be right there. Like if you ever get in a manual speed car or gear shift car, and you're just hauling ass in fifth gear, and you think, fifth, fourth, third, and you go, I'm going to drop it down into fourth, and you drop it into second, the rear end will lock up. It's too low. The gear's too low. You didn't match it.
Right.
Or you grabbed the wrong gear, whatever. Anyway.
Same thing on a bicycle.
I couldn't do that because the brake pedal was going past the throttle pedal, and if you reached over with your foot, you wouldn't feel anything but the bottom or the side of the throttle pedal. So it was like, I got philosophical. This is a valuable car. I'm not going to win this race. I'm just going to go out, participate. I'll drive it as hard as I can drive it, which I did.
Participation trophy
but
Carolla.
It was slow. It was not fast. So, but I was like, don't break the car, don't crash the car, don't fuck anybody else up.
Right.
There's a lot of super fast people out there. They're going to be coming past you at some point. Look in your mirrors. Don't cut them off. Blah, blah, blah.
Speaking of participation trophy Carolla, I was alerted to an Instagram post with you and one Sonny Carolla, who has, you probably haven't noticed because you're with him every day, grown to gigantic proportions.
Oh, yeah. He's a
He's a monstrous man.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was looking at a picture we took at the track. He seems taller than I am. He's still about an inch off of my height, but his hair.
That's a 6'1", 16-year-old.
The hair put him over the top.
His hair's put him over the top. He then hops on his electric bike. He's really, I don't know if he's on the spectrum, but he gets on that electric bike and he circumnavigates that track, going up the road to the back highway, going up this, going around the paddock. That's it. Gets on the bike. That'll be the last you see of him. There'll be 7 hours of him just circling it. And every time you walk to the driver's paddock or the bathroom or the driver's meeting or something, you'll catch in the corner of your eye, he'll be buzzing by. It's just buzzing by. That's all he did. And speaking of that.
Like Dustin Hoffman playing 21. He found his purpose.
Right. in the annals of would your dads do this? Every year it's the exact same dance of the tards. Sonny's greatest joy is the electric bike at the track. That's all he wants to do. He watches me race. He's starting to appreciate some of the newer cars and things like that. But he just wants to get to that track, get on that electric bike, and just buzz through that paddock nonstop. So then it always comes down to this. We're packing up coolers, spare parts, cars, everything from folding chairs to mechanics, tools and wrenches and everything else. And then at some point, we have to look for Sonny's electric bike charger, which is never in the same place.
How odd.
And there's always 5 different chargers, but none of them work on that bike. And then a lot of emails and calls go out about, have you seen? And then we always search around, and then where would it be? And I was just like, I was thinking of it. I was like, well, maybe the other electric bike charger, having conversations with Sean. Let me see the jack. Someone go online and figure out how many volts the charger is, all the stuff my dad would have never done. And then this, day before we leave, I'm just sitting in the other shop. I'm just racking my brain. Oh, what is that? Why isn't that charger? Why's that charger just laying here somewhere? Where's that charger? Why is it tucked away or hidden away, or who has? Couple texts with Emmy. Have you seen the charger? Did anyone bring it over here? Then it struck me. The last time, and it's always the bike and the charger in the race trailer.
Sure.
But the last time, last time we bought one online and tried to have it shipped to the Airbnb.
That's right.
It's always a clusterfuck. It's
that's what you're supposed to focus on.
It's my fault, but Sonny could jump in here at some point too. It's at some point I'm sitting there and I'm like, when is the last? Why isn't it in the race trailer? Why isn't it in one of the many plastic boxes we throw? You throw the glass cleaner and the tie downs and the microfiber rags. Why is it just sitting in one of those? It's nowhere. I said, oh, wait a minute. The last time we went, I did a professional Trans Am race. The car was waiting for me. We did not pack up the race trailer. We took Sonny's electric bike and threw it in the back of my car, the SUV, and then we drove to the track. I will bet you that charger is in the back boot of my SUV just sitting there. Now, I don't have that car because it had some sort of problem.
Good news.
And it's been at Ford for a month, and they can't solve the problem. Now, here's what separates me from Pop's Carolla. First off, I just thought about it more than I thought about anything else. I said, where the hell
You're already
is
ahead
that?
of the game.
Where is that charger? Where's the charger? Now, we have the bike, but the bike's dead, and there's no like universal charger. You can't plug it in like your phone or something. It's so just sitting there. Where? Oh, it's in the back of my SUV. It's got to be in the back of my SUV. We threw it in the back. It's black. The carpet is black. It slid over. No one took it out. It's been sliding around back there ever since my last race. So get hold of the guy at the Galpin Ford Service Division. Ask him, can he go find the car? Can he open the hatch? He gets on the phone with like the service manager. He's got the thing. I ask him, take a picture of it, send it to me. Then I go online to make sure it's the same charger. Then I drive my ass out to Galpin goddamn Ford. I tell that guy, bring the charger out to the parking lot. We have to leave at 6:30 the following morning. This is the end of the day on Tuesday. We're leaving Wednesday morning. And I'm driving my ass out to the hubs of hell to go get this goddamn charger.
That's where
That's hubs of hell.
Then make sure it's charged overnight. Then tell Sean, when you come to leave in the morning, you got to take the bike and the charger, but let it charge overnight and put it in the back of the trailer. Blah, blah, blah. Would your dad have done that?
Please.
No,
Okay, so today's Steve Grad, of the past few years, would say, like, you know what, honey? It just wasn't meant to be. It's not Bashert. You're not bringing the bike. I don't know what to tell you. We're going to have a great time anyway. 80s Steve Grad would have screamed every expletive into the wind and told me he never wanted to hear or see that fucking bike again. So no, you're already ahead of the game.
Does Sonny have his license yet?
He claims he has his permit.
He
now.
claims.
So that's not going to do him any good. My dad would have been like, you had a license, go get it.
Right. All right. But he wouldn't have.
No, of course not. No.
And he wouldn't have made it his life's mission to find the charger,
You're
right?
kidding.
It's weird. I look. Maybe our parents were closer to right than I am.
Possible.
I became semi-obsessed with the kid's charger.
Yeah, but you knew that was how he was going to spend all of his time the entire time he was there.
But you did a nice thing.
You
What
did.
you did makes you a good dad. My dad would have done that.
Somebody said, why doesn't he just go old school and just pedal the fucking bike? It's got pedals. You can still pedal around and enjoy yourself.
Escalators are still stairs.
Right. You could just do it. But I was like,
So there's a long-standing fear of pedaling bikes.
I got to find out. So that was that.
Very nice of you.
Went out to the lawn, the Pebble Beach lawn, where something happened that defies description.
Oh boy.
A big, big issue.
Is it shrimp tail related?
No, the food was good. The
Okay.
booze was flowing. You just circulate from the McLaren exhibit over to the Lincoln, over to Jaguar, and they just let you in and they just pour you drinks and give you all kinds of, they had the beef. They're cutting it right there. The carving station. It's all the best. It's the best. But then something happened.
Oh.
I'll tell you about that first. I'll tell you about Solo Stove. Man, this stuff is good. I got out my Solo Stove on the 4th of July, and I fired that thing up, and it was magnificent. Life's best moments happen around the roaring fire. Smokeless fire pit from Solo Stove makes your outdoor moments more memorable. It's really well constructed, stainless steel, and it's constructed in such a way where the air comes in, gets drawn in the bottom, feeds the flames. You get this great flame without the smoke and without all the ashes. It worked perfectly. And it's easy to light. It's easy to clean. Comes in a carrying case, very portable. Lifetime warranty and a 30-day free return policy. Just enjoy your outdoor living with Solo Stove. Right, Dawson?
Shop now and get up to 30% off fire pits all month long. And use promo code ADAM at checkout to get an extra $20 off, plus a lifetime warranty and free 30-day returns. Just go to solostove.com. And remember, you get $20 off when you use promo code ADAM.
All right, quick break. Tell you about what happened on the lawn. It was an act against God and nature right after this.
It's time to check Adam's voicemail.
Yo, Ace Man, Jason calling from Brentwood, California. I walked into a 7-Eleven the other day. There was an employee inside the store with a gas-powered leaf blower blowing all the dust and trash from underneath the shelf. I stood there in line, breathing in dust and carbon monoxide. It was interesting. Get it on.
You can leave us a message at 888-634-1744.
That's the age we're living in. It's an age of simultaneous, nonstop discussion on electric vehicles and ubiquitous two-stroke gas power leaf blowers everywhere simultaneously that pollute more than one Ford F-150 does in a year. All right. Again, I sort of file, like when you talk about California or you talk about LA County or something, and you talk about this like wild obsession with electric cars and zero emission this and zero, like
Electric
an obsession,
bikes.
electric everything. Yeah, that versus guys in two-stroke leaf blowers just running free in the wild, blowing everything all the time. I file it under wear a mask. Oh, here's your Fresca. Take the mask off. But it's sort of like, how into this are you? And if you're really into it, you have to be consistently into it across the board.
Indeed.
You can't pick and choose.
I want to believe at least that you believe it.
Right. All right. So we're walking the lawn. The way Pebble Beach works is you go down 17-mile drive there. Everyone in the world shows up. There's the most expensive cars on the planet, the most prestigious event in the world. If you win at Pebble Beach, your car's probably worth I don't know, just tack $1 million onto the price of your car if you take home that blue ribbon at Pebble Beach. I took a few pictures. I think this is a 54 Ferrari race car.
What was that? With one little teeny tiny seat in the middle?
It's
racer?
It's a race car from the 50s. A Ferrari. It's $50 million.
It looked like the 50s version of the future. What they thought, you know what I mean?
They're such works of art, and the people that restore them
That's insane.
do it to the nines, and everything is just spectacular. And of course, the guys, the only I'm in heaven except for the part inevitably when you're talking to the 41-year-old guy standing by the car, and he's got the binder that has all the pictures and all the restoration and stuff. At some point when you talk to him about the car, he'll go, my dad bought it in 1988 in Geneva. And I'm like, God damn it. But yes, it's literally the dad paid, $400,000 for it in 1988, and now it's $31 million.
And you got to be a slim guy to get in that thing.
I took a lot of pictures of just what I thought were beautiful rolling pieces of sculpture with no the paint was mirrored finish. All right, so it was spectacular. And the craftsmanship that goes into restoring the cars is insane. Now, what then happened? So their cars, the lawn is quarter mile long. And there's just the best cars on the planet. No one would be accepted there with their Miata. It's just the most expensive cars on the planet. They're all lined up. And then people sit there. Sometimes they dress in the period garb, and they have their picnic basket and their umbrella and their folding chairs. And then the judges come around, and they do their scrutineering, and they want them to start it up and touch the brake pedals, see if the lights work.
So it is a competition.
I think there are
that's a waste of my time.
many people out there who are competing, and then many who just are showing their car.
Sure.
But if you're competing, at some point, the guys in the straw hats and the blazers come by, and they start asking, is this the original engine? And when did you restore it? And here's some old pictures. And then you have to do certain things, like honk the horn, do the brake lights, do the turn indicator.
There's ever a Principal Chalmers situation where it's like, the northern lights in your kitchen at this time of year and this time of the world. Yes, it is. May I see it? No, you may not.
Yeah, they have questions, and then do their judging, and then they convene, and then if you win best in class or whatever it is, or best overall, you've just added a lot to that car's legacy. So we're walking. You get your glass of champagne, and you just walk, and you stop at cars you like, and you take some pictures, and then you walk a little more, and get to the end. And then it opens up, and there's the McLaren tent and the McLaren supercar over there, and the Bizzarini and the Lamborghini and whatever. And notice a nicely dressed woman, mid-40s. She's got a dog, medium-sized dog, walking the dog. Now, this is the most manicured lawn on the planet, the most expensive cars on the planet.
Where's this going?
And there's a couple of dogs out there, not a lot. I would just kind of argue, like, do you need it? Do you have to have your dog with you? You should only be on this lawn if you love cars, and then you should only be looking at cars, not looking at your dog or tending to your dog. So she's walking the dog, and, of course, the dog stops, and it's dropping a deuce. And it's dropping a deuce right in the middle of the walkway, on the grass, just dropping the douche. There's thousands of people, and the only shoes people are wearing, the women are dressed to the nines, and the men are wearing the Italian loafers with the suede bottom on them or something. And this dog is dropping a deuce in the middle of the lawn. So I'm just stopping, I'm watching. And I'm watching.
And judging.
And judging and watching. Well, I'm not judging yet.
Oh, okay.
Not judging yet. At some point, she just goes and walks
No.
away.
No.
Just walks away. Dog just took a dump in the middle of Pebble Beach on the lawn, somewhere between the $50 billion Ferrari and the $50 billion Bizzarini. Took a dump, and she's heading out. She's heading out. Now,
Who's she going to blame it on? One of the spectators?
and there's people just walking by in their Bruno Mali loafers, and I'm like,
God.
so I'm just looking at her. Now, some guy is watching too, and she kind of runs into him about 10 feet, and he's like, what's up?
Good.
I'm 40 feet away. I can't really hear the conversation, but it's clear he's kind of pointing, and she has no bag. Who
Really prepared.
Who takes their dog to
without
probably
bags.
a purse full of fucking bags?
It's a big bag she has too. Big
So-
purse.
So
With a purse to use.
the guy kind of goes, hey man, come
Someone-
on,
yeah.
Go figure it out.
Now I'm seeing people just walking past it. I'm getting angst. I'm like, step over. I think she commandeers like a paper cup or something. Goes out to tend to it. The dog is now taking its second dump.
Oh, wow.
About 10 feet away from the first place.
In a cup.
And I announce to all around me, I've met the worst person on the planet. This is the worst person I've ever met in my life. There's nothing you could say to me that would offer any redeeming argument or qualities to this human being. If this was at the end of the lawn. This is a long process. You take your dog all the way down. You have to walk for a mile before you even get to the gate opening because there's no parking and everyone parks way up the hill.
We're
And
looking at 100-ish people just in this frame with this photo.
there's tens of thousands of people. It's a sea of humanity. People are wearing their most expensive loafers, and they're looking the whole time at the cars.
Yeah.
They're not really looking down. When you walk through a park in a dicey part of town, you tend to look down a little. Not here. There's no reason to look down. This is the gentrified elite. No one would ever do this.
They look down at people, not at the ground.
That's right. Philosophically, they look down.
I announce this is the worst woman ever born.
You think she heard?
Well, you announced it.
I announced it to everyone in my group. Not heard, not met a woman. You couldn't find me a woman I despise more than this woman. And by the way, that one act, that's all I need.
Yeah.
That's all I need
We know
to know.
everything about you.
This is grounds for divorce, dismissal, and
Yeah.
everything else.
Because at best, you're just kind of out of it, and you forgot bags, but it speaks to a general sort of disdain for others and
Right.
the world.
Well, you brought the dog in the first
Yes, you
place.
brought the
That's
dog,
number
so
one.
you have
Number
to be
two,
really out
you
of
brought the dog with no bags in your purse from a long. This started at 7 a.m. This dump was a long time coming, and when the dog took at that point. If someone had stolen your handbag on the way in and you have no more bags, at that point, you literally take your hat or your shoe off or something.
Yes.
You just put it
Or
there.
bury it.
And you just announce to the world, I'm going to dig a hole with my hands, or I will pick this up, or I will go find a nearby trash can and pull some wrappers out, like something. She was gone. She was done. So I announce, there's no worse person than this human being. And then we... The usual group we travel around with, make our way into the McLaren tent with the music and the beef cutting board and the drinks flowing. And we sit down and I continue my diatribe about the worst person in the world. And then we spot...
Out of being Mrs. McLaren?
Then we spot... one of our favorite dudes. Now, the thing about car dudes is they're just car dudes, and this guy works for, and it's like a lot of, this guy, he works for Ferrari, and this guy works for Aston Martin, and he's a good dude, and he designed the DBS project, and it's a lot of, hobnobbing, or this guy's a journalist for Road and Track, or whatever it is. So we spot one of our guys, and it's like, oh, that dude. Oh, we love that dude. So we start talking to that dude, a middle-aged guy, and we're talking about how much he's enjoying it and time at the track. And then the woman enters.
Yeah.
And I said, the worst woman in the world. She's entered the McLaren tent. Keep an eye on her.
Did you say that to everyone who was around?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Walks over, hugs the guy, sits down. It's his wife.
Oh, I was about to say, is this a situation? I hate to be gender normative, but is this a situation where she was dragged there and she's like, I don't like going to this thing. I don't like you. And this is my FU to all car things.
Are we sure it was her dog?
I don't I don't know any of it.
Larry David, you would have had to have started a fight
then
with her right then.
we had to break off, and I said, "Look, someone's got to go talk to this guy. He's got to let him know what he's dealing with, you know." And then they were like, "I'm not gonna." Everyone's like, "We're not going over there. We're not gonna do." I said, "What?" "What if your best friend? What if you knew his wife was cheating? Would you feel compelled?
Now time's up by 10.
Morally compelled to say something?"
Right.
Yeah.
So did she have any inkling that you were shaming her from afar? That's
no.
Because at that point, you just have to drive home all night. Pull an all-nighter, get out of there.
Jesus
Give me an electric bike.
Yes.
Wow. Did she was the dog like up in everyone's business in the tent?
No, dog was just sitting there.
The dog's fine now.
Dog's empty.
Dog's fine now. It's completely evacuated.
Wasn't there a situation years ago where Sonny was technically underage and they wouldn't let him in? And there's some. Did that happen this year?
He doesn't look underage.
I was gonna say
Sonny was technically underage for the jet hangar party on Wednesday night that turned into a debacle because he couldn't get in. This time, because he's taller than everyone, I think he just strolled in. I ran into comedian Brad Garrett on the lawn, all around good guy, but I guess a Jew, so we have to announce everything that involves cars, which is I don't know anything. I don't know. Whenever you talk to a Jewish guy about cars, they always act like you're going to ask them to gap your plugs or something, you know. So they hit you. They hit you at the beginning with I don't know anything, but I'm loving this.
Was there any Jewel or anything like that again?
They didn't. The corporate, no, we didn't. We went to the Acura party. We didn't have any corporate entertainment. Food was great. Food and drinks. Another Brad, the chef who comes in and brings all the Kobe beef and everything. He did all the cooking. Tip for you guys. I don't know, but it made sense to me, but I hadn't fully explored it, which is this guy is he's doing caviar with creme fraiche, and it's all the best. Everything's the best. He's cooking Kobe beef tacos for us at the track. But I'm now curious, like, what's the tortilla here? What are we putting this on?
Yes.
And is it flour? Is it corn?
It has to be corn.
It has to be high quality regardless.
Yeah.
Like I say, never cook
what
the
he's
wine
doing.
you wouldn't drink.
Everyone's enjoying the shit out of it. He's doing it when I'm getting into my car for my race. So I said, I'll go at the end after I'm done running my car. Come out, gives it to me in a flour tortilla, enjoy the shit out of it. So why am I enjoying this so much? It's raw. It's a raw flour tortilla. First off, you look at it, looks clear. I'm not clear, but it doesn't look white.
Okay. Not opaque.
It looks clearish. It's explained to me that this is lard and flour, but it's not baked.
Oh.
And so it's not dry, and it doesn't crack when you wrap it around. It's super flexible. It's a little chewy. It doesn't just bust off, and it doesn't crack when you're wrapping all the beef. I think I sent you a picture, Sonny, eating one of these things. You can.
Is there
it's
a
kinda hard to
binder?
tell.
I mean, does it?
I think it's just lard and flour, but it's
I cooked
raw.
them last time we were there. You just heat them up, and they just become tortillas. It's great. Yeah, they're just a little translucent, but they look kind of like a raw egg roll wrapper almost. Like
you got to keep them refrigerated. I guess. I don't know if they're that much more or hard to find or whatever. My feeling is a tortilla is just flour and lard anyway. Why not do a much better version of the flour and lard? Yeah, you throw it on the grill. You lower the lid on the grill. You get the thing up to temp, flip it over a couple times, put the Kobe beef in it, holds it perfectly. Doesn't crack. You could fold it up into a straw. It won't crack. And then when you eat it, it tugs up. It tugs just a little bit. So much better to do it that way. So, and I don't know if they're raw corn tortillas, and I don't know if they call these raw, but that's what somebody called them, and it's just so much better way to go.
Wouldn't the raw corn tortilla, the reason they may not do that is because it's masa, right?
Yeah, it would be polenta, basically.
Yeah, it would just basically disintegrate in your hand.
I guess uncooked is what they call these, and I'm guessing you can get them, but next time you're going to get into some carbs and you're going to go with the soft taco and whatever, get the uncooked tortilla. So it's so much better experience. All right, Bald, you went to Hawaii?
That's right, buddy.
Where'd you go?
few months, went to Maui, same place we had the last few years, Wailea area. It's funny. We took a 1 week break off of social media, just put it all away and didn't pay attention. It was great. And someone was right before I left saying, "Why do you go to Maui every year? It's fucking paradise. We love it."
Yeah.
The end. It's great. You can get there in direct flight, short flight compared to anywhere else in the U.S. or whatever. So, yeah, we're happy to go back. We realized a few months ago, Chrissy and I were planning our vacation for the Dark Week. We're like, is this the year we take Tessa? She's 5 years old. She loves the idea of Hawaii. She's asking us about it all the time. Then the LAUSD calendar comes out. School district calendar comes out first week of school.
What is the?
That's what I was doing
All
all
the
week.
old timers like myself are like, we went back to school in September.
Yeah, we had the same
After
conversation
Labor
with
Day.
in-laws. Yeah, it's
After
always
Labor Day.
after
Why
Labor
are
Day.
we? It's called summer vacation. Why are we doing it? My kids went back August 12th or something.
Yep.
That's summer.
Yeah.
We're in the summer.
I
We're at
couldn't
the
agree
beginning.
more.
We're at the beginning half of August.
We're the home
Why is
stretch of
that-
summer.
It's hotter than shit.
Yes, it is.
They're explaining, my kids are complaining because, I don't know, whatever the cafeteria, they still won't let them eat inside.
Oh, my God.
My daughter's saying, I take the car and I fire it up and I put the air conditioning on. I sit out in the parking lot and eat it. It's like, I don't know what the fuck happened to their multi-million-dollar cafeteria that the kids can't eat inside, but it's 101 degrees outside and everyone's sitting outside fucking watching their sandwich melt. What the fuck? And the teachers, you don't like school either.
Yeah.
Why
Take advantage.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was always after Labor Day. My birthday, the 13th, was always like the first week or two of school. Not that it mattered. I didn't invite anybody, but yeah, you get the idea. So we're like, the first thing we think, okay, it's the first week of school. Tessa's starting a new school, first grade. We can't take her out. She's like very studious. She would not like that. She'd rather be in school.
Really?
You believe it or not. And then we think to ourselves, did we just go and miss our first
Oh
week? Then we
my
realized we
God.
can't do that either. It's a big deal. So we went to her first day of school, Monday morning, 8 a.m., dropped her off. She loved it. She met all the kids, the teacher, everything. Everyone lined up, the whole first grade, first day, rigmarole. 8 o'clock drop off, 9:30 flight to Maui.
Damn.
Wow.
Straight to the airport. My mom was in town to watch Tessa for a couple of days. Took us straight to the airport. Said,
You
so
lucky
long.
SOBs.
Enjoy the first week of school. So we were there for drop off, which is the biggest deal. Tessa was psyched. Met a couple of fans at the airport, the Maui airport. Chris, I believe, and Justin, who did your cakes. Does that make sense for your wedding?
My cakes.
Cupcakes? Cakes?
Oh, the bunt cakes.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
he's
yeah.
the best.
He's a really nice guy.
Oh,
Saw
that's
me. He's like,
awesome.
oh man, big fan, everything. So that was awesome. I got it. Speaking of life tips, the footnote to this, let's bring back Do Yourself a Favor. Remember that segment I used to do for
Yes.
the radio show? I learned a lot from doing those life tips, life hacks, little things you can improve your life with. I got one for everyone, and it comes with a picture because it was about 90 degrees in Hawaii. You're close to the equator, so it's balls hot, and everything gets hot. Even the artificial turf was hot. You know what I mean? Like people were running from their chairs, their lawn chair or whatever, their day beds or whatever, to like go over the fake grass, over the tile to the pool. You guys got that picture? So everyone wears their flip-flops because it's scorching, and they inexplicably just kick off the flip-flops, leave them face up to bake in the sun. Can you guess which pair is mine?
The upside down.
The
ones.
upside down pair. People,
Shaped
we are
like
going.
a swastika?
Well, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can see that?
Well,
With the SS monogram on the
took
bottom.
you and the old lady to pull it off.
Hey,
but yeah.
guys, everyone did.
Flip your flip-flop.
iPhone camera is great. Yes, flip your flip-flops when you're at the pool, because if it's that hot that you must wear the flip-flops to and from the pool,
Smart. Good.
what use is it to bake them in the sun?
Yes.
Yes, flip the flip-flops over. No one else did it except yours truly. We did all the regular stuff. Went to Maui Brewing Company, went to all sorts of, just walked everywhere because YLA is all right there. And it was a great time. Got back and Tessa had tales of first week of school to share with us.
How many days were you there?
Monday through Saturday.
Nice.
Yeah, so whatever that is, 5, 6 days. Yeah.
That's great.
It was great.
Yeah, the thing about going to the car race weekend thing is it's all great. It's not a vacation per se because there's a lot of car stuff that you have to kind
you're
of
doing
run
stuff.
through your mind. You have to be at a certain place at a certain time and stuff. But there's plenty of time to walk around and meet people and
Lovely.
say hi. So, let's bring back...
do yourself a favor.
Do yourself a favor. Because I feel like most of... a good portion of my life is looking for bike chargers that can't be found because we didn't label them and we didn't put them in a certain place. You know, the time before, there's this thing where you go, oh, I'll know. And then you fast forward a year and you're like, I don't know where the fuck anything
Said
is.
you have passwords. You won't know.
Yes. We also always watch a bad movie. Did you find the trailer for Vigilante Force, Chris?
The fuck is that?
That doesn't sound real.
I can't be. We watched this entire movie. I forced Sonny to watch it at the house.
Is this something you'd seen before?
No.
So you couldn't vouch for it.
No. Where there's an actor, a child actor, and I'll think of his last
1976.
name, Nikki suggested it. Always hangs out with us. You have the IMDb description of this, but can I say this? I don't know. Maybe I'm old school, but I feel like every Airbnb, just like the cars go through scrutineering, you know, my car's got to be teched in.
Sure.
They look at the date on the harnesses. They want to know if there's a tow hook in the front. You have to get in and work the brake lights for them. Shouldn't every Airbnb have a DVD player?
They should at least advertise that they do.
They're $39.
Yeah.
Just have it.
Yeah, put it in the house.
Because you won't get all the movie services, and at some point, somebody gifted me Kenny Rogers 6-pack at the track, and I was like, we're going to watch the shit out of this when we get back to the house, except for we couldn't.
Brutal.
We looked around. We tried to find Hooper, the Burt Reynolds movie. Then it's like a $10 fine, or like I don't know if we want to do that to the owner. Right, and I don't live here, but we found the movie starring Chris Christopherson and Jan Michael Vincent.
Damn, you know it's going to kick ass.
In the 70s, and you also forgot what 70s movies, especially 1976 movies were, but we'll play you the trailer. It's the worst movie ever made. United Artists.
Oh.
It was a typical American town until they found they were sitting on $500 million worth of oil.
Never even knew that.
They called it God's country until all hell broke loose.
Ernie Anderson?
Bar fights.
Oh! Off the
And
top
it was
rope.
time for Vigilante Force. Chris Christopherson, star of Academy Award-winning Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. Jan Michael Vincent, dynamic young star of White Line Fever and Buster and Billy, come together in Vigilante Force.
The last time I tried to go back home, they gave me a parade. In one end of town and out the other.
Chris Christopherson.
A lot of parades work that way, but you get to come back.
That's a parade.
What's a parade?
My war.
But one he could never stop.
Oh, I got a bazooka.
Jan Michael Vincent is Ben, who finally took the law into his own hands.
All right, give him hell.
I have no idea what was going on in this movie.
Listen to me. And when you good people hired me to come take care of your garbage, nobody was there telling me how to do the job. Nobody wanted to know.
Like a pack of mad dogs, they were unleashed to clean up the town. Instead, they cleaned it out.
I want all the money you're holding in a pile. Get tired of you shoving us around?
Victoria Principal was in this.
And Bernadette Peters.
Because we're brothers.
They fought over the same girl.
Sweet shirt.
And now the time had come to settle the score.
We're coming after you!
Victoria Principal, sensuous young star of Earthquake, is Linda,
Wow.
who trusted a man once too often.
I'm gonna kill you.
Oh, my God.
Broadway's Bernadette Peters dazzles as Little D, who loved not wisely, but very well indeed.
You're a cop. I hate cops.
So do I. I'm the cops.
Oh, my God.
He's grabbing her ass.
I was going to do something terrible to all of you.
I don't know what she was doing in this movie.
For a trailer this long, I have no idea what's happening.
I watched the whole movie. I have no idea what happened.
Vincent, fighting it out in
So,
the worst movie ever made.
Let me see if I get this straight.
But it was in theaters. Like, this is what,
Wow.
People forget. You go to movies now to enjoy the movie.
Yeah.
Back then, it was like some air conditioning, take a load off,
Candy.
smuggle in a Snickers bar, watch doubleheader. Where are the movies? Like, we don't, the shit blowing up, and then they got into a bar fight, and then that car,
Flimsy
a lot of cars
plot.
going down dirt roads,
Yeah.
hustling with banjo music playing, and it was good. Stuff. It was a movie. I don't know what it was about, but there you go. Stuff was moving. And we had air conditioning, and it was dark for a while.
Stuff blew up.
And the theater we're in, a huge chandelier on the ceiling. It was awesome.
Yeah,
Like, if you got bored with the movie, you could lay back and look at the chandelier. It was beautiful.
Wow. Simpler times.
I had kept explaining, like, Sonny, this is what the 70s was. Like, I didn't even know. I don't know who read the script. I don't know how they
I don't think
made
anybody
the
read it.
movie.
Yeah, no one read
it
Horror
wasn't
After.
about anything. It was just 97 minutes of nothing. But this is the 70s. This is 1976.
Wow.
That's how they did it.
I hate to tell you, but Hooper is streaming on HBO Max.
Oh.
I think Sonny might have pulled one of those. Oh, sorry, old man, it's not streaming anywhere.
Yeah.
Wow.
God damn it. Yeah. And everyone was skinny as shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
Bony.
bony skinny. The chicks were bony skinny. The dudes were bony skinny.
Well,
I
this
mean,
was
every
mid-Coke.
Yes, every townsperson was skinnier than shit. The kind of skinny you don't see anymore. Remember that sort of Woodstock hippie
Sinewy.
skinny,
Yeah.
just caved in, see the ribs poking, skinny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Reason enough.
Whoever was like cast as the fat guy for comic relief would be pudgy by today's
Yeah.
standards, thick.
yes. Written and directed by George Armitage, who directed Grosse Pointe Blank
What?
I was gonna say, I
One of my
recognize that
favorite
name.
movies.
and Miami Blues.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Nicky Katt, by the way, who's a pretty well-known actor. So he's sort of
Love Nicky Katt. You'd
semi-retired.
recognize him, Gina. He's not acted a ton recently.
No, but he's been in a ton of movies, and he's this funny.
Oh, he was in Boiler Room, which is one of
yeah.
my favorite guilty pleasures.
He's got a ponytail and a mustache now. He looks a little bit different.
love
but
him.
he does this thing. It's the most endearing thing in the world. He just shows up every year, shows up at the track, and he's got a bag of small gifts for everybody there. And he gives Sonny his little bag, and he got me with these little considerate gifts about things he's heard you talk about or stuff you
nice.
know. I got this little thing for Phil. He got me Six Pack, the movie with Kenny Rogers. he got me a little inhaler, a little that kind of Vicks vapor rub thing, because I like to snort that before you get in the car. You don't have to smell all the fuel
Wow.
and brake liners and everything. He's
Nice
just this
guy.
Then he comes to the house, eats his weight in Kobe beef.
Good.
Tells us all the stories of the back in the day, and then explains why Vigilante Force is a good movie.
And then you part ways, never to hear from him again.
Well, anytime you have to, whether it's a painting or a movie, anytime, or Yoko Ono, when somebody has to stand next to it and explain to you why you're not enjoying it, but why you should be enjoying it, and then you're like, yeah, I'm not enjoying this. And
Yeah.
like, you don't get it.
Take the L.
You don't get what they're trying to do with this painting. And it's like, I know, but I'm listening to Yoko Ono and I'm not enjoying it. Yeah, but that's not the point. It's like, well, it's my point. That's why I listen to people and watch movies. Yeah.
Oh.
And then, of course, Jan Michael Vincent just turned into the saddest case ever. Chris Christopherson. The guy's a
huge
big
star in the 70s.
big songwriter, big movie star. Look,
Star is Born.
kind of flies under the radar with the kind of matinee idol good looks mixed with the serious songwriting chops. I mean, people don't still around. Doesn't show up, doesn't do the circuit, don't see him on the late night shows, or he doesn't get political. He's not popping up on CNN or anything. It's just
He's semi-retired too.
it's just Chris Christopherson. But I don't know if I saw him doing stuff 20 years ago. He just writes his songs, goes about his business. Anyway, all right. John Altschuler and Dave Krinsky are going to be in just a second. Let me tell you about K12.com. That's right. Want more control? over your child's education, check out today's sponsor, K12.com. Tuition-free online school that fits your life. Personalize your child's education, and let's let them learn their way at their pace, using tech for their generation so they know it well. Learning is flexible, interactive, and fun. At K12.com/podcast, you can explore curriculum, see success stories. Some of the 2 million plus families that have joined. Classes are taught by passionate, state-certified teachers, and your child can develop social skills with field trips, clubs, and activities as well. K-12 has helped families take control of their child's education for 20 years plus, and you can too. Take charge today at K12.com/podcast. That is K12.com/podcast. Sissy Spacek was assistant art director on Vigilante Force.
This is getting ridiculous.
Is she like dating Christopher or something?
I guess. I don't know. I don't know why you need an art director. Everyone just wore T-shirts and bib overalls and just a lot of trucks doing donuts in the dirt and then bar fights. And you also remember from watching 70s movies that they had a style of bar fighting that they don't do anymore.
What do you mean, like roundhouse kicks?
There'd be the big punch to the gut, and the guy would fold over.
Yeah.
Then there'd be this like kind of almost palm first smack to the face, and the guy they just. Hal Needham just did every fight, and that's how they did it. Now it's a lot of like MMA shit.
Right.
It's more exact. The punches are straighter, and they're throwing these roundhouse kicks
There
and
was
stuff.
a specific choreography back then where people would pair off and do a lot of punches. The guy would,
Yeah, exactly. Well said, like a
He'd
dance.
lift the guy up,
Yes.
you'd punch him in the gut, and then he'd smack around, and his face go, and then you'd get thrown either into a mirror or through a window.
Sure.
That was a big deal. And at some point, someone would get lifted up and thrown onto a bar table that would just be destroyed when the person landed
Collapse
on it.
as though it
under
made
their
of
weight.
cardboard. Yeah.
That's and they would bust a chair over someone's
Right.
back too. Sissy's husband, Jack Fisk, was the art director on that movie. All right, Gene Corman.
It says,
the
the producer, Gene Corman, conceived of the movie's title, Vigilante Force, and then approached George with the idea of it.
There you go. Before the movie, the title.
It sounds like when you get like a Korean video game called Violence Fight or something. It's like, this sounds good, but
And the plot is flimsy. From what I understood, normal town, then they discover they're sitting on $500 million of oil, then everybody starts fighting each other.
The oil part was unclear. Nobody watching the movie understood that. It was
That's
just,
a very
it was
flimsy
vigilantes were coming in and busting up the town. It was also one of these things. There was a conceit in the mid 70s and before where if the marauding biker gang rolled into town, they could do whatever they wanted. All you had to do is have one scene of them clipping the phone line. Like, now you guys are cut off from the world.
The phone line.
This town was in California.
It was.
Yes.
Presumably on the grid.
In the mid 70s.
Modern enough.
At no point could any protection be offered from the federal government.
Wait.
There's like one sheriff and one deputy, and that wasn't enough to protect the town.
Was the city walled off?
Nope. It's just out in the middle of somewhere in California, and Jan Michael Vincent was tasked to save the town. So he went to his brother, who worked security at an airport, who was Chris Christopherson, and he said, "Can you help me?" And the guy's like, "All right." And then he showed up, but once he showed up, he just started shooting people and taking everyone's money.
And kissing the hot chicks.
TSA.
Yes. Mm-hmm. All right, Altschuler and Krinsky will be in studio right after this.
It's time to check Adam's voicemail.
Adam saw a road sign in Arizona that said, "Cats have 9 lives. You're not a cat. Buckle up. Get it on."
You can leave us a message at 888-634-1744.
John Altschuler and Dave Krinsky have joined us. The book, The Gangster's Guide to Sobriety, My Life in 12 Steps. We'll talk all about that, how that came about. Of course, Silicon Valley, Beavis and Butthead, Blades of Glory, Extract. Forgot about that one. King of the Hill. So many more productions.
So much stuff that shaped our comedy chops.
Good to see you guys, as per usual.
Good to see you, Adam.
One quick addendum to violence. I mean, rape. Vigilante Force. The women in these 70s movies had nothing to do other than get raped and then killed. That's why you needed them there. At some point, they got raped, and then often in that order. And then at some point, they would have to get killed, and then they would have to go out for justice.
Right.
That's how.
Hence the
those were the
vengeance.
roles for the women back then. All right. The book. And how did the book come about? Because I think I know the story, but it sounds interesting to me.
Well, Adam, you have a lawyer, I'm sure. We have a lawyer who tells us one thing. Do not respond to emails. When you get blind emails, he says, hit delete, hit delete. So I'm at home, I get this email, and I start reading it, and it's very polite. And it's all about, hey, big fan of you and Dave's, blah, blah, blah. And this guy was actually pimping somebody else's project. He said, could we please get together so I could show this? But to show that he was legitimate, he included his IMDb page, which showed some, little acting roles. Yeah, so it's credible. So I'm about to literally hit delete, but Dave and I came up hard, okay? We came out to L.A. We didn't know anybody, worked as PAs for 3 years, so there's something about people coming out of nowhere that kind of grabs you. So you cut to the next day, and I'm at the Starbucks in Sherman Oaks, and there's this guy, Richie Stephens, and he's showing me this project with his friends, which wasn't interested in, but he's this Irish guy, very gregarious, and he starts dropping little things like, well, that's when I was running guns, and this is when I was, I was it was in an Asian gang, and I was a drug dealer, and I was like trying to process it all, and I kept asking more and more questions, and the stories got bigger and bigger. Like, he came to America. I was like, oh, to get a job. Oh, no, it's because the drugs are shite in Ireland. I had to go where the drugs are good, which is San Francisco, apparently.
Sure.
And who had the best drugs? The Asian gang. And so he gets into debt to the Asian gang, and he doesn't know what to do, so he says, well, I'm going to work for you. You can't. We're all Asian. And he goes, no, you're all Asian and a white guy. So we have all these stories, and we don't know quite what to do with it, except I knew I needed to drag Dave Krinsky into it.
Yeah, he described Richie, this Irishman who was a gangster and a drug addict and an alcoholic recovered. And I was picturing some 60-year-old bloated Irish dude with the Bill Clinton nose for all the stories. But
Gin Blossom.
Yeah, but he's actually like a young, handsome, Irish dude, and very charming, as John said, and his stories were just phenomenal.
70s thin, too.
Yeah, sinewy.
There he is.
That's our guy.
You see those abs.
So are you thinking book? You guys think TV mainly, or features?
Exactly. So his stories were so amazing. They were Ireland, Australia, America, San Francisco, Los Angeles, all over the place, and we couldn't get a handle on it till one moment it kind of hit me. I went, Richie, you're sober. He goes, yep. I go, he goes, 10 years. I go, 12 steps? He goes, yeah, this is what we'll do. We'll do your life in 12 steps. That way we can do each chapter is a step in recovery, and we can draw from all of these Scorsese-like insane stories and pull from them. When we did that, we actually had interest in it as a TV show, but Dave has always wanted to write a book, and we were kind of like, in this new world order where things don't make sense and all you hear about is IP, we're like, let's write the book. So we were able to get a book deal, this incredible agent, Jan Miller and Lacey Lynch, who I think she's not used to being in business with us, though. She was very excited. She goes, we got 12 people interested in this. This is going to be huge. Now, I know my life, Dave's life. The next day, 11 of them dropped out, okay? Because they didn't know where to put it, because they're like, well, it's like a celebrity story, but he's not a celebrity. And it's a serious story, but you guys are comedy writers. And we're kind of like, well, that's why we think it's going to be good.
And Richie always reiterates it's not a how-to book. It's not a self-help book, because he can't tell anybody what to do. He just wants to tell his story of how he came out the other side.
How did you guys come to be? You came out here at the same time, started, as you said, at the bottom. And I'll dovetail this into a story that I think needs to be told more. But tell us your story first.
So we met at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill, and a buddy of mine, said, "Oh, you should meet this guy, John Altschuler. You guys have the same sense of humor." So we hooked up there. We did some work in Chapel Hill. Like there was a TV network just started up with student TV, so we did our own sketch show. And it was fun. Like John had an econ degree and didn't go work in a bank. I had a useless degree and knew I wasn't going to find a job. So moved out to L.A. And yeah, as you said, we worked as PAs for a long time.
But before we moved to L.A., this was our big break, is that we were like, we got to do something, okay? Let's get published, okay? And so the idea was let's get published in a humor magazine. Well, there was only one, and it was National Lampoon. I don't know if you remember this magazine, but it was a big deal. So they had this thing called the Writer's Market, and it was a book, and it had every magazine. So we look up National Lampoon, and there's National Lampoon, and it says, "We accept absolutely no unsolicited material," okay? And so Dave and I were like, what are we going to do? And so I had this brilliant idea. We basically did a little submission and a query letter, and we said, we know that we sent it to Maddie Simmons, Chris Simmons, and Ratso Sloman, who were the managing editors. We know you're very important, but here's something for your time, and enclosed $1 with each letter. So one day I worked at a Chinese restaurant. I delivered pizzas in Chapel Hill. We were saving up money to come out here. We didn't even have an answering machine. No air conditioning, no answering machine. I walk in, the phone's ringing. I pick it up, and I said, "This is Chris Simmons. Can I speak to John Altschuler?" This is Chris Simmons. Money talks. What have you got? And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "I got your $1 right here." And so I pitched them what we had, and they said, "Okay, we're interested," and they published us. And that's one reason why, like when we were in King of the Hill, everybody was from Harvard. Everybody, and so somebody would show up with a Texas-shaped cookie in a script, and everybody would ridicule them. But we're like, you just don't know what it's like to have no ins.
Yeah, I was just from Monterey and found myself at a dinner talking to Jim Farley, who runs Ford now. Nicest guy in the world.
That Farley.
He's a racer. He's that Farley. Looks like Chris Farley, but he's svelte. He's not 70 Stan, but he's in good shape. Nicest dude in the world. Races cars. He races a lot of vintage cars. It's a picture of us from the year before or whatever. He's always there. He was in my run group. Smoked me as a much quicker car, but still fast, man. And so he's the nice guy in the world. He's the most regular guy in the world. And I was like, he runs Ford now. It's a mega company, And I was like, well, we had some time just sitting and talking at this restaurant. And I said, how'd you get started in this? And he's like, I did upholstery for Phil Hill. Phil Hill was one of the first American F1 champions, like a legendary racing guy, probably from the 50s into the 60s. Had a restoration shop in Santa Monica, and Jim did the upholstery. Sewed the seats and stuff. And started in, 86 or something. And it's like, I got started. I worked there for a while. And this guy's always tell you this story. And then I went to Saab for a while, in the mid-'80s, and I headed the and they bounce around, but they kind of keep bouncing up. And everyone wants this story of like, what's your dad do, or who do you know? And it's like, it's not how it works. And all it does is motivate them to be unmotivated. Well, my dad's not running Ford, so how could I? And there's always nepotism. Don't get me wrong, but the guy who's running Ford right now was doing upholstery work at Phil Hill's restoration shop in the early '80s in Santa Monica. So he's now runs Ford. He's not old either. So you show up, get busy, don't be an asshole, don't get grabby, but be assertive and be consistent, and you just kind of find your way.
This is whenever we do talks to college kids, we always just say, here's the first thing, don't be crazy, okay? We're like, nobody wants you out here, okay? They're not like, oh, we need more young people to come out and try to take our jobs. Nobody wants you. I said, the other thing is, just try to make your boss's life a little bit easier, okay? Because Dave and I were like, here's your call. We were PAs for Howard Gottfried, who made Network, okay? Mm-hmm. And we never bothered him, but there's the coffee. There's everything is done. Everything's done. And so one moment he goes, you guys don't want to be PAs. What do you want? Well, we want to be writers. All right, let me read what you got. So that's the thing. Sort of, hang in there. But I have a question for Adam Carolla, because talking about hanging in there, my favorite Adam Carolla book is not Taco Bell material. Okay,
Mine too.
I gave it to my kids to read.
Wow.
Every time I drive by North Hollywood High, which is far too often, I look at the now revamped Taco Bell.
Yeah.
And
They just gave it a facelift.
yeah. Well, but what's there's two things that interest me about it. First of all, that to me, as much as I love Road Hard and I like everything that you've done, that to me is the show that should be done. The story of you at that age trying to break it, because it's a very vulnerable story in a lot of ways, very funny. But Taco Bell got me thinking about, you were on Howard Stern, and you were talking, I think, about not getting the job at Taco Bell, and I still remember him. He goes, well, "Wait, so do you really like that food?" And you were like, I was hungry. Like, he didn't have any idea of what it was like to be in the 70s where parents weren't around and having no food. It wasn't, do I like this? You were just trying to, survive.
Yeah, it's funny because I hearkened back to one of the thoughtful gifts child actor and beyond Nicky Katz got. He got one of the things that was in my gift bag that I forgot about, was a hat from Henry's Tacos, because he remembers when I would go down there 14 and they had the hard taco shells, every eighth one busted. They're always off to the side.
Chips.
And I would just go, give me the busted taco shells, give me a water, and give me some taco sauce.
Yeah.
And somehow,
Poor man's nacho.
by law, like they had to do it. And they're like, all right, here you go. I didn't buy anything ever. And then I just sat at the table and busted the taco shells up and dipped them into the stuff and washed it down with some tap water. And people are like, was it good? It's like, no, it's not good. Nothing's good. You're just trying to get by here. It's just fuel. It's called a job. It doesn't have to be uplifting or inspiring. It's just a job.
We used to, in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, get a bucket of bones. And a bucket of bones was, because you're hungry, is that they would strip the real meat off the chicken bones to use on the biscuits, and you could buy the bones to just sort of get something off of
That's
it.
Dickensian.
Yes. You do learn a lot, and then you can tolerate a lot, and you grow up without air conditioning, so you kind of appreciate air conditioning now. I think you need everyone needs to be calibrated, and if your calibration starts as smartphone, heated pool, and central air, it's really hard to recalibrate. And all the discussions about it never works in the calibration department.
What are you talking about?
We were forcefully calibrated. Some of it is technology, like we didn't have a smartphone, and there was some, central air, but no one I knew pretty much, and that was it.
Well, you're nailing it. My mom told me this a long time ago. She was an interesting woman, ran as a libertarian in 1972 for the mayorship of our town. But she said, you can't fake that you don't have money. Okay, we didn't have money. When I grew up, there was no money, so it was easy. And by what I mean it's easy is that you figured out how to survive. Like, what was our rotation? It was like Tuesday night was Pioneer Chicken.
Yeah, in Burbank, Pioneer Chicken had like 3-piece special for $1.99, and then Del Taco at Taco Night, 99 cents for 3 tacos, and every week we just hit those places.
And you can't fake it. I worked tobacco not because I wanted to pick tobacco. It's because back in 1977 you would get $25 a day as a 13-year-old. That's a lot of money. Now, I got so much tobacco on my arms that I would hallucinate, and I still remember the hallucinations I had of tobacco worms coming at me as I'm driving down the field. But you learn that you don't want to pick tobacco. There's something else that, Adam, you said one time, which is that people don't realize that these are stepping stone jobs. Like when I worked at a steakhouse, that's not the end all. It's a stepping stone job.
It's funny, I was talking to one of my guys he's like 50, 51 or something. I won't get into all the gory details, but we needed our truck, my tow truck, which is not a tow truck, it's the truck that hauls the tower, hauls the trailer, could not be used to bring the race car home on Sunday morning when we normally, and we did have a car, but we didn't have it. Anyway, Sean, the guy at the other track, said, I will borrow Charles's truck. I will hook the truck. I will hook the trailer up to it. I will leave on Saturday night from Monterey at about 8:30. I'll drive it back to the shop in Burbank. I will drop it off, and I will turn around and I will come back.
Wow.
And then Charles can have his truck back for the next day.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Ride or die.
that's 6 hours each way at night. And he's got to undo the trailer and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I'll do it. And I said to him, wow, man, that's a lot. And he said, when I grew up in Iraq, when I was 8, my dad took me to a public hanging. And I was like, well, this is better than that. So you have been set, my friend. You have a nice setting. My son's setting is, it was a disaster because we couldn't find the charger for the electric bike, and I had to pedal around the track in between bites of Kobe beef tacos. But he's like, and I'm like, yeah, you got, your setting is you saw a dude hang. You went to a public hanging in Iraq.
We need more of those now.
Yes, I agree. It prevents a lot of...
In Iraq?
Yeah.
In La Cañada.
It prevents, like the people who TP'd my house for the 15th time.
Yeah.
The joke's on them at this point because
Yeah,
I'm
care.
not even going out anymore. Yeah.
You know, I have a car.
I will say this on the TPing, and I feel mixed about. Like, remember when I was giving tips to pedophiles for Catch a Predator?
And how?
Just say, order medium pizza to show up before you show up and wait outside. But okay, I shouldn't be giving tips to TPers, but my approach is I will just drive past it, drive over it. I just go to work. I don't even deal with it. But they actually set up a ribbon of TP between the fence and the mailbox so that one would have no choice but to drive through it.
Good.
And I drove through it, and it worked perfectly. Went right over both ends of my car, snapped about a 10-foot leash off of both sides. One side got caught in the driver's mirror and like pinched in there, and I found myself trying to undo the mirror and fish the toilet paper out of it. So
that's some 3-ply.
They will not be ignored, and
Wow.
they nailed it this time.
Wow.
Well, they should not do what Buzzy Heron. You know what Buzzy Heron did when I was in 3rd grade? He wanted to soap all the windows of our entire school, Winkler Elementary School, and raise havoc. But he didn't want to get caught. So Buzzy Heron did every classroom except for his own. So literally the next day, you see Buzzy Heron being hauled off because it just started. They go, this room, wait, Buzzy Heron, boom. So.
Well, so the book, so we thinking about a feature, we optioning things, a series. I mean, there is no more format anymore. It's like you could do a 4-part series on Netflix. I mean, it's just however many part we want to do.
Well, we're definitely looking at it as a TV series, and we've been right now we're deciding whether to do it in Ireland, through Ireland, because Richie's Irish, and do it with this great Irish company, and then maybe a UK. We've been doing a lot more projects internationally and in Europe, sort of Europe into America as opposed to America to Europe. It's a lot more fun. We have a motorcycle race comedy that we're doing, like let's do it in Italy and then bring it in. But so right now we're deciding, do we go the usual route, which is, armor it up with talent and go to a streamer, or maybe a little more entrepreneurial, which is our bent, because it's not that we won't do things that way, it's just not a lot of fun. I don't know, David.
Yeah, I mean, the business has changed a bit. I remember when we worked together, a show we did, I was like, I'm quitting the business if they don't pick up Bertram. I was like, it's the perfect show. It was the perfect show for Fox, the perfect time. It was King of the Hill, but edgier. And I didn't quit the business, even though they didn't pick it up. But it just doesn't make sense. And now they've taken the fun away from it, the business. They've taken the home run away in TV. So doing anything more entrepreneurial or international just seems more appealing right now.
When did the Mike Judge introduction happen?
Well, that happened where we were the first hires in the first season of King of the Hill. And it was interesting because we just connected with Mike right off the bat because we all I remember I was pitching an idea about when I was 13, I had to sell drinks at football games at East Carolina University, which is the Pirates.
Pirates, yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
And I had to haul these drinks. Now, I have a real problem with child labor laws, because child labor laws are not to protect children. Okay, it is simply a union shill and maybe sanctimony because I could work tobacco. I could be in a 98-degree temperature with heavy machinery, or you end up being put under the power of these Fagin-like characters, which was what when you sold drinks, you always had this mean adult who was in charge of the 13-year-old. So I pitched that to Mike because I had this sort of mean, not all the way the guy. Mike just went nuts because he goes, that was okay. I had a boss, my first boss. I was 15 and I worked at he worked at a country club as a dishwasher, and you had to rack it up and then set it down, and it was supposed to go for 60 seconds. Okay, and so you need to count it, and so Mike's going 1,000, 1, 2, and he's counting, and the guy yells at him for not counting fast enough. Okay, and so from that point on, we just connected and worked on more things. And there's something that's interesting about Mike, though, is that we always say that we have the horrible stink of the middle class, is that we came up in that kind of upper poverty, lower middle class situation that Hollywood despises. There is nothing more than they hate. If you're wealthy and you're in this, if you're poor and great, but we have the stink of the middle class. So we kind of connected from that point on.
Yeah, I've never heard. Right. So it's either this guy went to Yale and Harvard and worked on the Crimson Review, or this guy slept in his car.
Yes.
I've never heard more people claiming to have slept in their car. I made it from like 0 to 39 without meeting anyone who slept in the car. Now, evidently, every third city council person slept in their car. Which to me is that some sort of badge of competency or something? Like, I'll say you were a junkie when you're 28? Like, by all means, run Burbank. Any other junkies? And the two biggest arguments I get with these Burbank City Council guys, I can't think of the guy's name, but he's like, I'm on the spectrum and I slept in my car. Oh, awesome. Here are the keys of the city.
That's your campaign slogan.
How much taxpayer money would you like to blow through? Like, I don't, with this Constantine, I think the guy's name.
Or something. Yeah,
the point is why is this, why are we giving kudos? I mean, it makes, it's layered. There's a little more interesting thing, but never heard more people try to get away from having responsible parents. You know what I mean? Where they're like, we didn't have anything. We didn't have, your dad sounds like a shit. Well, he did what he could. What did he do? He ran IBM. but we were not. He had money. He had money. All we had was his Cadillac and his mansion and his Olympic-sized swimming pool and his vacations. Why? We didn't have our own.
Technically, I was
He made
broke.
us sure to know. Yeah, I know. When your dad has money, it means you have money when you're a kid because you get all the accoutrements of a dad who has money.
I was sent something. I don't know successful Harvard writer who the joke among comedians was that the most tense time in his life was the 30 minutes before he landed into L.A. where he was going to decide which job he was going to be given from he now was on record explaining how there's nothing harder nowadays to be a comedy writer who was from Harvard. And you're just like, oh my God, this is my problem with the rich Uber class. They take it both ways. It's like they're going to have everything, and then, oh, poor me.
Yeah.
I went to Harvard.
Yeah. Well,
and all I got was this lousy T-shirt.
Probably on the spectrum. So, yeah, I know. But Mike Judge, obviously real kind of working class and whatever. And it shows in his work. It's hard to make those kind of stories up. You kind of have to live those kind of stories. So you guys want to hang out with us and do some news as well?
Yeah, we love being here.
All right. Well, first I'll tell you guys about concrete. This stuff's so good. It's creatine. I actually brought it with me on the trip. I was so into it. Your body makes about half the creatine it needs. The other half comes from your diet, but most American diets are low in creatine-rich foods, and concrete, that's where they come in. Patented creatine, HCl. It's a favorite creatine of elite, well-informed athletes. The number one bioavailable creatine and the only microdosing creatine. Just one small scoop per 100 pounds. Put that in. Put it in your shaker bottle. Mix it up. It's got a nice lemon flavor. Tastes good. Creatine is required for functional energy in every cell. Your brain uses about 20% of the creatine in your body. The immune cells, well, you need it because it protects you. It protects your heart cells and also your lungs as well. It is concrete. Right, Dawson?
Take control of your health, both body and mind. Build a better you with Concrete. Register now at con-crete.com/podcast. That's con-cret.com/podcast for a chance to win a $500 Walmart Visa gift card. Available now online and in-store at Walmart. Concrete is truly life-changing and performance-enhancing.
All right, so we'll take a quick break. We'll be back with John and Dave in the news right after that. Hypothetical that I wrote down. You guys tell me what you think. I was watching that Elvis movie.
Oh, yeah.
And I was watching him. Actually, I was watching another Elvis doc, and I think they showed a clip from Jailhouse Rock, and he's doing the whole, it's a music video, essentially. There were 15 cons, all white. Now, is that good or is that bad? You know what I mean? Because on one hand, they made them all white back then because they were hiring white guys. Now it's good because it's all white guys and no black cons in there. What do we do? Is it progress? Would you say we must need an equal amount of black cons in this video now? They're being underrepresented.
Now,
even at half they're being uppers. But I don't think you couldn't go to a pure prison representation quotient, could you? Like, well, 71% are black, so we got to do 7 out of 10. You couldn't do that.
I say it's bad simply because they took jobs away from black actors.
That's right, like dancers.
Yes, exactly.
Right. So now you'd have to go like a 3 out of 10. You'd have to go 3?
Sure.
Yeah, or some sort of ambiguity in the race.
Yeah, ethnically ambiguous.
Couple Hispanics.
But you'll be wrong whatever you do.
Yeah.
Whatever you do,
someone's going to be pissed.
Yeah.
We can all make our peace with that.
Yeah.
Well, over the dark week, the news broke that actress and friend of our show, Anne Heche, was taken off life support after that bizarre, fiery car crash in Mar Vista. Very sad. And now Heche's death has sent many fans scrambling to find her autobiography. So she wrote this book in 2001 called Call Me Crazy, and it's been out of print for years. And now copies are being rebranded as collectibles, selling for up to $1,000 per book.
They can reprint those.
Hey, man.
Listen, I've written books. Just go to Anne Heche's condo, go into her garage. There will be 400 cases of books that you guys look forward to this day. Yeah. At some point, they go, people liked your book, but they didn't love it. We thought they'd love it. They just liked it. So we made a whole bunch of extras. So if you can either throw them away or we'll just drop them off in your garage.
Yeah, what's to be done with those? You literally have to just take them?
Larry Miller was explaining that he had built himself like a fort in his garage out of them. You can go full igloo
insulation.
Style.
Yeah, like the last bookstore downtown.
It's more than R30. Yeah, insulation. I mean, literally, if you looked at the R value of poured concrete, oak paneling, or books, you get a lot more. Look, when you blown insulation, it's just cellulose. It's literally newspaper, blown up. So there's a lot of R value. You could a 30-06 would not penetrate halfway into chapter 3. It's got a protective value to it. So I'd say we could build homeless encampments.
Yes.
And we could build low-cost housing. And if they wanted to be inspired.
Something.
Pop one up.
That's great.
Get off the fentanyl.
And you're totally right about it not going through books, because remember the scene in Sopranos where they have the phone book over Lorraine's chest?
Yes.
And Popper go, we only made it to the R's.
Yeah,
so you're right.
This is piles of books.
That's really smart.
Insulation, protective. I don't know how they fare in earthquake, but we could check that out and figure that out.
Crazy clue.
Mm-hmm.
Now we know we have a future.
That's right.
Well, as the fight to bring Brittney Griner back to the United States continues.
Anne Heche was first off, she was a lovely woman.
Very
She's
nice.
been in the show many times. Fun, but clearly troubled.
Right.
But they didn't find alcohol on her, but
there was some in the car.
They did show that, but she didn't test.
Right.
Right. They didn't find trace amounts of cocaine, but I think they find that in fish now, right? I mean, this is L.A. You know what I mean? The little, but why
every dollar in my wallet?
Why the crazy? Right? Why the crazy drive? Why
Could have been a mental episode?
Yes.
Some sort of a breakdown.
Yes. All right. Anyway,
she was really lovely.
She was.
Well, as the fight to bring Brittney Griner back to the United States continues, our hero has emerged. He's going to fix it again, just like he did with North Korea. Dennis Rodman has announced Saturday he's going.
The money was on Seagal.
I was thinking Elon Musk.
And Elon.
Rodman shared in an interview with NBC News that he intends to travel to Russia in the near future to get her released. Griner, who's 31, was sentenced to 9 years in a Russian penal colony. Is there a sadder and scarier sentence than that? For the drug charges of having hashish oil in her luggage. But according to NBC, Rodman is not required to receive special permission from the U.S. to make the trip. He would only need it from Moscow. And maybe they're fans.
Do we know? I mean, Rodman has got to be careful. Like, I don't know if Putin is quite the level of an NBA fan of the 90s that, Kim Jong-un. Yeah.
See, I don't think if this nice woman is Jewish, I don't think she's Jewish, because I won't even fly through the Moscow. I could have saved $1,000 a ticket if we'd fly through whatever the Moscow airport. I won't go into Russia. I won't go. My family got out in 1898. We don't go back. You stay out. Who goes to Russia?
You chose to pay more?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah,
Brian, please.
To not go through, not go through Moscow.
Well,
yes.
and that's our thing. We're planning a honeymoon, and we're talking about Europe and France and Switzerland. And someone said, "Oh, you should visit Berlin." I go, "I have no fucking use for Berlin, for Germany. I'm not interested. I wish them all well, but that's not going to be. They're not going to get my dollars.
Revenge tour."
That's not for me.
I've explained to my kids about the whole Berlin Nazi, but I only took it back as far as Hasselhoff's fame.
Oh,
I didn't go lower than that. I didn't want to freak them out.
I feel like there were more important things that happened in history.
We stopped at Hasselhoff's rise to power.
Imagine their confusion.
So they don't even know about the Holocaust.
I don't know anything about that.
Really?
I
Well,
stopped
they know
at
enough.
Hasselhoff. That upset them.
It was really bad, and it started with an H.
You know what they should do? Russia should say, look, we will agree to let Brittney go with the worm, but you must promise to mate. And then we get to use the offspring as the ultimate rebounder. I mean,
we got to clean every board.
Yeah. We're going to clean every goddamn board with this kid. Male or female, they're going out of junior high into the league.
I do want to see that negotiation, though.
Right.
At the least, I want to see that posited.
Well, and I know I have this in here somewhere, but they are still working on a trade of Brittney Griner and Paul Whelan with the, what do they call him? That's right, the Victor Bout.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But maybe Dennis Rodman will just make this all go away. Speaking of making things go away, we finally have an ending. Some would call it a happy ending to the Deshaun Watson saga, as the NFL and Players Association have agreed to suspend him for 11 games and fine him $5 million for all the massage shenanigans. While he wasn't criminally charged for anything, he was accused by more than 24 women of sexual misconduct during massage sessions. He'll be eligible for reinstatement November 28th and will be available to play against the Browns in Week 13 when Cleveland faces
he plays
Texans.
for the Browns.
Right.
He's going to play against his ex-team.
His old
right.
teams.
The Texans.
And remember, the judge said he was only suspended for 5 games, but like you said, the NFL probably has to optically let's make it a little harsher.
Well, you have to if you don't care about something and you look the other way and then you're accused of looking the other way, Hollywood does this too, then you have to go way into overcompensation mode. So you're aware of Harvey Weinstein and all the other degenerates doing everything, and you turn a fucking blind eye to it and you celebrate these guys in award shows and stuff. And then you have to act like you care about someone slapping someone on the ass at some point because you're compensating for all the years you ignored everything. So NFL has to do that.
No, I think you're right.
As well.
Is
everyone watching Hard Knocks?
Yes. Oh, it's
Good.
the first episode on the plane.
Yeah.
Dan Campbell, what a man.
Love that show.
I love that show, and I know nothing about football, but it teaches me. But have you guys seen this series Untold? The first episode is the fully fleshed out hour story of Manti Te'o and the girlfriend.
I've been hearing about that.
It is fascinating. You think you know, but there's so much more to this story.
Linebacker, don't know if he's still in the league.
No, I think he played for a couple of years.
I think he's Mormon and lives in Utah with somebody.
It was a big name out of college, kind of washed out a little bit.
All-American Notre Dame.
He wanted to go to USC. He went to Notre Dame. And you hear like, well, how dumb can he be? And he must have been in on it. And it's just fascinating, the catfishing saga of this
He's a free agent, according to Chris, this year.
Well, and
he's out of the league.
You hear half of the show is dedicated to interviewing the girlfriend, quote unquote. She now identifies as a woman and wants to come out and tell her story of how this happened and why.
Now that the cement is hardening on this story, he was just incredibly naive.
Very.
Is that what we're looking at? Like he's like a man-child.
Religious and naive.
Yeah,
and,
sheltered a bit maybe.
Yeah, but this person now, I mean, the whole story, she'll tell you everything, and she'll say, oh, I was so ashamed when I did this and then this. And they never meet, Manti and Ronaya or whatever.
Was it a dude the whole time?
At the time, yes.
Oh, so this is a problem with her.
I know!
She'll say, it's like, what's she? All right.
I know. Oh, Dr. Phil's on it. It's amazing.
Can we stop getting angry at people who trust other human beings? You know, like, what a doofus. You should have known. You left your backpack on the fucking driver's seat and the window cracked. What? That's on you, dude. Yep.
That's
on you. It's like, no, it's not. I trust other God's creatures. I trust them. Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
My neighbor was telling my wife, I didn't want to tell this to John because he gets his panties all in a bun about twisted in a knot about crime. Somebody did a home invasion next door, but she's explaining, you know what? He doesn't leave his lights on. He doesn't. Okay.
Yeah.
And
it's
I'm
his
like,
fault.
He didn't have a Burmese tiger trap. And sharpened bamboo spears in the front with elephant dung on them. This is on you, dude.
Yeah.
You just had the privacy knob locked. You didn't have the deadbolt turn. That's on you. It's like, no, it's not on me. Yes, it's on the person that broke into the house.
Mm-hmm. Pete Holmes has a great bit about that, about how you blame gullible people for just trusting humanity. You're totally right.
Gullible people are generally just nice people who think other people think like they think in a nice way. Yeah. So they tend to believe them.
How dare they?
Yeah.
He dared to have an emotional connection with somebody that online.
That's right.
What a fool.
Who did a bang-up job
Never pick up a
convincing him.
hitchhiker. Never pick up. Of course you got stabbed. You deserved it. What are you doing giving that person a ride? Like, no, these are what people...
they're broke down on the side of the road.
I need money for gas.
Joke's on you.
Money's going up his nose. But it's like, it's called a society.
Yeah.
It used to kind of work.
Doesn't matter what we're wearing.
Let's not punish those who trust.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely check that out because it is riveting. Let's talk about something a little closer to home that may affect some gentlemen in this studio, this very studio. I'm not sure. A group of 30.
Wait a second, though. So the dude at the time was catfishing him just for fun?
He felt this like connection to him. He was just kind of this lonely dude, also super religious.
Gay?
Not out. I mean,
Not out.
Part of the church and also Polynesian. And came up with this elaborate, and this was before the rest of before we've gotten savvy on this issue. So you'd never heard of anything like this, and somebody all but shows you they're real, that they're real.
All right.
So it's really interesting. I can't wait to see what you think. Let me know if this affects anybody here. A group of 30 exotic dancers at North Hollywood's Star Garden Topless Dive Bar.
Star Garden?
Yeah.
That was my hang.
That was his old haunt.
That's where I met my girlfriend.
That's right. So you might have a particular interest in this. They are unionizing. With what union, you ask? Actors Equity. Yes, indeed. They are, according to Deadline, the dancers voted overwhelmingly last week to unionize and join forces with SAG. They say, with Actors Equity.
We don't want that.
Wait, are they?
No, Actors Equity.
Are they
Actors Equity.
acting when they like me?
They're yes, there's a performance. They say their bosses are guilty of all sorts of abuses, from skimming tips to letting customers get a little handsier than they're supposed to, despite there being rules against that. When asked why these protections are so important, a stripper named Velveeta replied, "We like what we do. We would like it more if our jobs were under basic protections. We're like so many other workers who have learned that it's not a choice between suffering abuse or quitting. With a union, together, we can make needed improvements to our workplace."
So Star Garden, I don't know what
Tell us all
configuration
about it.
it's in. Now, it's a little place, has a pool table and a bar, and
well appointed.
a little stage. It's
Like Jumbo's size? Like not that.
it's topless.
Yeah.
It's like first 3 dances, 3 songs.
Three-song stop set.
Yeah, this is first.
I mean,
it's
I don't
like
know.
in some kind of negligee stuff,
Sure.
and then the second is like in a more revealing outfit, and then the third is the same outfit, but the top comes off at the minute left in the song, and then that's the whole thing. But there's no champagne room or lap dances.
Really? Well,
No.
when's the last time you were there? 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
What time did the show start?
1989.
I don't want to see the scabs when they go on strike.
That's right. That's a good
Oh.
The lunch crew.
They don't, a little DJ booth,
Yeah.
a little bar, little place. I don't know if they blew a place out and, busted down and got in with Venus Affair or something, whatever. There was a place that sold stuff too.
Venus Affair.
Yeah. It was
Is it
either
like a
Venus
sex toy
Fair. It was either, Chris can look, it was either Venus Fair or Venus Affair. Maybe Venus Fair. Same side of the street, Lancashire.
Yeah, Venus Fair with an E at the end. Fair.
Like a
Renaissance
play
Fair.
play on Vanity Fair.
Oh, there you go.
But Star Garden, they don't. Guys can't really get they could get handsy
Can
because
you get a lap dance?
No,
Oh.
but I think that the dancers work as like cocktail waitresses when they're done. So they could presumably get handsy walking around the table.
I don't like that. If I'm dancing, I want to be treated like the star I am. I don't want to get off stage and go bring you a Diet Coke.
You're not going to tech your own play.
That's what I'm talking about.
Well, what if I said you got a choice between you bringing the guys the Heinekens or you going up on stage, which is every 5th dancer, and doing the one where you take the Windex to the mirror.
Oh, and then you do the poll too.
You wipe down. You got to wipe.
Yeah.
The place needs a wiping down every 4 or 5 dancers.
That's a good question.
Would you rather be slinging the Heineken
Yeah,
at that
I guess
point?
I would.
Okay.
At least, treat me like a performer. Don't, make me grab a mop.
So they're going to unionize.
They're unionizing.
All right.
With Actors Equity. Oh, look, there's your place.
Oh, it's nice.
Oh, Venus Fair.
That's Venus Fair. Yeah. What you want is a lot
part
of
of a ghost town.
lot of stucco and not many windows.
Yeah.
That's how you know it's a really classy establishment. And then just up Lancashire, probably another 4 or 5 storefronts. You get to Star Garden, which is a miniature little place.
This is clearly the end of North Hollywood. So what are we butting up against? Like Panorama City? or
Panorama City,
Valley?
Sun Valley.
This is not the NoHo Arts District.
But there is more NoHo to go.
That's their slogan.
You'll be 2-3 blocks down and still in NoHo.
Wow.
Yeah, there's guys
Crippling depression.
selling used cars and
Yeah.
equipment and stuff like that. Like you can keep going.
It's sun bleached.
Yeah, sun blasted.
It screams bunker.
Yeah, there's no fauna, flora.
Nothing grows.
No.
Yeah, now this is the place that sells the plugs and the strap-ons and all that kind of
Sure.
stuff. But this place is like a peep booth too.
Oh, how quaint.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Like a Madonna video.
Yeah, open your
Yeah, it's like a
heart.
Madonna video. They have the glass, and then you put the money in
That's
the thing.
still up and running, you think?
This place also has, Jesus, remember those old video booths? You just feed change in? And I always had this theory that they, you know, I don't know, it was $1.50 for 3 minutes or something, like quarters. But I think where they made their real money was not in the one and done department, you know, $1.50 at a time. They clinically timed it out so that you would put in your $1.50, you'd start to go to town on yourself, and at some point it would stop.
Yeah.
You'd have to reach down and like reboot and get your pants back up and fish around.
dummies.
Meanwhile, the dick's flaccid again, and we restart the process over.
That's how you get rich
That's
and
how you
stay
get
rich.
rich. That's how you do it.
That's good.
Right.
Do they still have Pete booths?
That's a test. Don't answer that.
That a peep. I don't know. We're going back to circa '89. That's all.
Do you think
I know.
there's competition for the editors who are just so good at time?
Finding the
you
moment.
got to get Jimmy. This guy, he knows how to do it.
Yeah. There's an algorithm. I'm sure. It's in play in many different facets of business. And this is one of them. Don't kid yourself.
I won't.
It's called porn business, people.
Poor Jimmy's like, I worked on the thin blue lines. Like, get in there and cut that porno.
Yeah, I don't know if they still have the peep show or I imagine they don't have the booths anymore.
Yeah.
But Star Garden was just a little kind of flash dancey place.
Well, now
kinda
they're on the
quaint.
map.
Little mom and pop place.
That's right. Oh, boy. There it is.
There it is.
That's nice.
It's classy.
It does look classy.
Look at the column.
Yeah.
It's classy.
There's a column.
They only have one column.
Yeah, that's all you need.
Hey, if that's a good column, that's all you need. Yeah. There it is.
Somebody live upstairs?
I never found out what was going on upstairs.
Okay, that's for the best.
We pretty much shot some pool, watched a few dances.
Is there a North Hollywood affiliation of like mob? Is there a mob scene in the Valley that I'm not aware of? Because that's where they would hang out if they were here.
This was seemed kind of blue collar, kind of Joe Sixpacky. Guys were reasonably well behaved. We knew the bouncer. He just kind of let us in. Kind of knew most of the dancers. I don't know. It was in a weird way. It was sort of innocent fun at a strip club in a more innocent time. Like we just wanted to drink pitchers of beer and shoot pool and stuff like that too.
Was there a buffet?
No.
No.
No, there's no. I don't think you could get food. Food would have been out of our. That was way too. Unless they had some busted up taco shells or something brought in from Henry's.
Well, there's a new employment term that's getting a lot of traction online. It's called quiet quitting. CNBC reports.
Chris, you've told me about this.
Yeah, it's a thing now that 21% of working Americans say they themselves are quiet quitters. So what is it? So this TikToker who goes by the name of Zed Leplin kickstarted the conversation with a video he posted on July 25th. Here's how he explains quiet quitting.
I recently learned about this term called quiet quitting, where you're not outright quitting your job, but you're quitting the idea of going above and beyond. You're still performing your duties, but you're no longer subscribing to the hustle culture mentality that work has to be your life. The reality is it's not, and your worth as a person is not defined by your labor.
So others have weighed
in.
in
relationships, but I would never bring it to work.
Quiet dumping.
Quiet breaking up.
Yeah.
Leave it at the threshold.
That's right.
When you go to work, it's time to work.
Well, others weighed in, said it's about setting boundaries, about what your outputs look like. It's about doing the bare minimum because that's all that you can give. It's about not doing extra work if there's no extra compensation, and the list goes on.
All right. First off, fuck all these fucking idiots. They are so torpedoing their own. Like, I'm not going to do any extra work if I don't get any extra. No, that's how it works. That's how all good jobs work that way. You don't work any more than you should work. If you're working at a Del Taco, don't work for free. But if you're in a production company or something and you want Mike Judge to notice you, then
get him a coffee.
feel free to get him to notice you in a good way. Then there's this thing where it's like, why should I have to make my life work? And it's the same thing I say with people like, give these people universal basic income so they can have dignity. It's like, dignity? Well, give them a fucking wheel of free cheese, too. Like, what do you mean dignity? Dignity's about going to fucking work, you lazy sacks of shit. You don't have to make your life your work. You should have balance, but you should also strive to have a career.
We shouldn't vilify your work.
Yeah, but there is work, and then there's a career. One should attempt to have a career, and then you would enjoy your work.
It's penny wise and pound foolish. You're going to feel great for a little while because you're in the bare minimum getting paid, but no, you're not going to have any chance of moving up. They're going to look at you as like just, he barely does anything.
No.
And also, lethargy is overrated. Like, people
that on a
think
bumper sticker.
the guy leaning on the broom is having the time of his life, and the guy's doing all the extra sweeping is miserable. The guy's doing the sweeping is happier than the guy leaning on his broom. That's the thing we don't tell you.
Because he realized he had time to lean.
Time to clean.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's talk about somebody who's going the other way and getting applauded by people in Hollywood and people online and people he worked with on the movie. Idris Elba says his own kid auditioned to play his kid in a latest movie, and she did not get the part, even though
in Beast.
That's right.
I'm going to
even
see
though
it after this.
It just could have presumably pulled some strings to get her cast. He was on The Breakfast Club plugging the movie The Beast, and during the conversation, Elba revealed why his 20-year-old daughter, Isan, didn't make the cut.
Interestingly enough, my daughter auditioned for this role. She wants to be an actress, and she auditioned. And, it came down to chemistry in the end. My
She
daughter
was actually
and
very good.
she was great. But
Yeah.
the relationship in the film and the relationship between my daughter the chemistry wasn't right for film, weirdly enough.
Mm-hmm. She didn't pass a chemistry test with her dad.
Wow.
Perhaps in the movie their relationship is strained.
Perhaps.
It's just too good. Off the
And she said she
Or they're
didn't-
lovers.
That's right. She didn't speak to him for 3 weeks, but
Really?
she's gotten over it, and he's getting just completely applauded by everyone for the lack of nepotism.
Well, it's weird because, like, whenever, I don't know, Gordon Ramsay, was he on the show
Yeah.
saying, I fly first class, my kids fly
Mhm.
coach because
Mhm.
they haven't earned it? And we all love it. Like, we love it when people tell their kids to fuck off. But then we've structured society in some weird way where that's not really possible anymore.
What are you talking about?
Yes, dad running all over town looking for a charger for an electric bike. But then when they do it, we like it, right?
We love it.
We love it.
They're heroes.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's good. I'm sure she'll land on her feet. But even the people that worked on Beast were also applauding him. Like, it just made everything easier.
But I don't get it. She wasn't. But the host was kind of actually said
That
oh, they
was
were
the
great at
producer of the
something
movie.
else.
He was on the movie.
Yeah, who I think was trying to soften the blow. She was really good. She came really close.
Oh, I
Yeah,
see. He was
yeah.
saying she was really good because I thought it was a host saying like they saw the movie
No,
or something
no.
like that.
She didn't make the cut.
Mm.
And I mean, as though Idris Elba needed help being hotter. That real voice, that English voice.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, do we have time for one more?
Does Mike Judge try to shoehorn any of his offspring into your art?
No, I think we're all too embarrassed and shy about doing anything like that.
Yeah, we've definitely seen it though.
We've seen
And you feel it, right? Like there's resentment, I'm sure.
Yeah.
We had a friend ruin one of my favorite lines that I ever wrote in King of the Hill. He said, I got the perfect person. It was a girlfriend or wife. And we said, perfect, okay. And she butchered it. And I'll never forgive nepotism for that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You couldn't quietly re-record that?
You know what? Then it would have been, okay, so we replaced your girlfriend, wife, and everything becomes a thing.
Yeah.
And so we just cut the line.
Oh.
What do you think? Nick Cage has a kid, but he can't go by Coppola or Cage if he's trying to keep it real, right? He's got to now go for a third name,
That's right.
and then if he becomes super successful, then his kid
Where does it end?
is
Yeah.
going to have to abandon their name.
Yeah.
Could he?
Onion.
Could he circle back to Coppola?
No.
Not going to work because we all love the Nick Cage story. It's like I want to do this on my own terms, right?
Right.
So,
Well, even Talia Shire.
right. Right.
You know what Kirk Douglas told Michael Douglas? Michael Douglas, you don't know how tough it is being, Michael Douglas. So Kirk Douglas, he goes, change your name. His name, he was like Kirk Kirchhoffsky,
Yeah,
the Jewish guy.
that's right.
Right.
Just change your name.
Right.
The last thing I heard of that.
Yeah.
One more?
One more.
All right. Well, if you don't know where your buddy was over the weekend, I can tell you, Adam, because Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck got married for the second time, this time in a big ceremony at Ben's Georgia estate. Matt Damon, Jimmy Kimmel, and Kevin Smith were on hand for the ceremony, though Affleck's
I
younger
like
brother, Casey,
One and a half of those people?
Yeah, that's about right.
Out of the three?
They were no-shows. They first got married in Vegas in a little ceremony, but now this was in his compound. And nothing, a good friend of mine who owns the Glow Med Spa in Savannah, that's where JLo went to get her skincare done. So Jimmy Kimmel was there. You've got to ask him all about it.
Is this lasting forever? Because they both, have had a few swings and misses. But at a certain point, you get old enough, and it's just like, oh, fuck it.
I think it has to be.
Or you're deeply in love.
No.
There's always that option.
I think it has to be just for spite, because they would never come back from a second divorce. They have to keep this shit together, just to spite A-Rod and all the Mark Anthony. Jennifer Garner.
I hate that guy. Don't know her.
Yeah, one of the proudest moments with my daughter, she must have been like 4 or 5. We made Extract, and Ben Affleck was one of the stars. And he was fantastic because he wasn't getting paid anything, so he was there because he wanted to be. But my daughter's there on set, and so he goes in and tries to be the good guy. And my Milena will not have any of it. He's like, hey, I'm Ben. She's just like, fuck you. Fuck you. Could not break through to her at all.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can't win them all.
All right, you want to bring it home?
That's all for us. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news.
Gina Grad. That was the news with Gina Grad.
It's crazy when you see pictures of her, J-Lo, and him and their prior relationship 20 years ago. He looks 20 years younger. She looks exactly the same age.
That's right.
Clean living.
Yeah, it's got to go a little deeper than that.
Sure, she was blessed.
Ryan, you're so naive.
But I just mean it like it literally just doesn't look different.
No.
He looks good now, too. He just looked 20 years younger 20 years ago.
Yeah.
She's
a vision.
She's just who she is.
Yeah.
Absolutely nuts. And then she's got more money than him, right?
I would think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Prenup?
I guess, right? I mean, you just have to. There's
take it
too
personally,
much.
yeah.
Right. I think they're in, according to TMZ, they're moving in, remodeling her big, Beverly Hills estate or something while looking for other houses.
Adam is our TMZ correspondent.
Watch TMZ.
He fills you in.
Yes.
Watch TMZ constantly. All right, the book, The Gangster's Guide to Sobriety, My Life in 12 Steps. It's available as we speak. When does the Ducati motorcycle special series, when might we see that coming somewhere soon?
Well, we're literally putting that together. I'm going to Italy in 3 weeks, and we're just trying to, put it together. Like I said, instead of just going to American street, well, let's go to Italy because Italy's great. I lived there for a year and a half, and put it together with Ducati, all these sponsors, and then regional film commissioners, and just do it upright.
Right, because it's early next year, and we could have wrapped the show. But thank you for that soliloquy. Salt Lake City, Wise Guys Comedy Club. This Friday and Saturday, doing live pods there early, and then stand-up shows for the late show. Just go to AdamCarolla.com. Until next time, this is Adam for John and Dave and Gina and Bald saying mahalo.
I support reality. I support what's fair, what's right. And it certainly isn't cool, dope, fresh, or American to be able to walk into a Rite Aid and just pack your bag and not even feel scared.
Right.
To do that. Normally, back in my days, if you stole a pack of gum, your heart should be racing.